Okay, game 4 here, and the first thing I notice is Scrying Pool. Scrying Pool took me a very long time to learn how to use. Now I can use it decently enough, I believe. But anyway, there's Scrying Pool on the board and there's Chapel next to it. Chapel means you can get thin. Getting thin means that the knights up there can really go to town on your deck. They're gonna hit something every time they play it, basically. I still open with the potion here because I want Scrying Pool. It's a good card. My plan at the beginning of the game was to go for some Scrying Pools and then go for Grand Markets and then go for Knights to try to attack my opponent. Um, my opponent opens the Quarry here instead of the Potion, and looking back, I think the Quarry is the right thing to do. I didn't even notice Quarry until my opponent bought it, so I pick up one here because it's an excellent card to get to Grand Market. This is why I bought it. Apparently, my opponent bought it for a different reason, and it was to buy Sir Bailey. Now, in the context of this early game, Sir Bailey is very important because it lets you attack once with Sir Bailey, and then if you buy a second knight, you can attack again in the same turn with that second knight. So you get to flip 4 cards and potentially trash 2 of them. Whereas if it was some terminal like Sylvia, you can only play 1 in the early game anyway, unless you buy a throne room or something. So getting Bailey is a big deal, and Bailey at the top was a no, I say big deal. It's a deal. Like, it's a good knight to have on top of the deck. Anyway, my opponent picks up another Quarry here. This time, I believe, now angling for the Grand Markets at this point. I pick up my first Scrying Pool after trashing away those cards there. And on 3, my opponent is going to pick up Sir Vanda with the Quarry here. Now on 4, I should have considered Sir Martin at this point, but I very hastily picked up that Quarry because I believe that I can deal with the knights. I didn't think they were going to be terribly strong, but it turns out I'm mistaken here as the Bailey comes out and gets rid of my potion, which is bad. I did want more than one Scrying Pool, so I buy back the potion here. I don't know if that was right. Again, maybe I should have been buying knights. One Scrying Pool is a lot in a thin deck. You can run a lot of your deck that way, so maybe buying back the potion was wrong. It gets trashed again there, by this time by Sir Vanda. You know, maybe Bailey and Vanda are going a competition to see how many potions they can trash. I don't know. But here I'm able to use Chapel to trash away a decent hand, 2 estates and a copper. That is good for me. My opponent picked up a throne room last turn, so that things are not boding well for me at this point. And I didn't realize you could just use arms to get throne rooms. It's very easy to buy. Here again, I buy back the potion. This time it survives, so the scores are still level for Bailey and Vanda, 1-all. And my opponent has managed to pick up a potion at this point and goes for a Scrying Pool. So they are looking in decent position here. 1 Scrying Pool, 1 throne room, Bailey followed by Vanda. I'm gonna have a tough time coming out of this. So here with my, what is this, the 3rd board potion, I consider going for a Scrying Pool, but this time I opt for Sir Martin. Mostly because I want to get rid of my opponent's knights. They've been too troublesome and I can't build anything with those knights around. So I get Martin. It's plus buy too, so maybe if I could get it down with the Quarry, I can gain more things. However, Vanda and Martin have a fight and I lose Martin, so I won't get to put it in play. Also, losing Vanda means that my opponent has a gold, so it is a lot easier for my opponent to get to Grand Market. Now Gold Quarry does it, whereas Silver Quarry doesn't do it. I have 3 with the Quarry and I go for Anna again, just trying to eliminate my opponent's knights at this point. And the good thing with Anna is that it can exchange itself for the Chapel, so I can keep a very compact 5-card deck here and hopefully build out of that. That's all I can do at this point really. If I leave anything in the deck, it's gonna get trashed. My opponent picks up the first Grand Market here, so they are on the Grand Market train now. I play Anna here, getting rid of the Chapel. It is really useless at this point, whereas Anna is a lot more useful. And I keep everything else. I still want the potion to buy Scrying Pools. And Anna does manage to find Bailey and get rid of him. So now we have no knights in our decks, but my opponent is a little bit ahead. They have the same number of scrying pools, but one more quarry and a couple more throne rooms. And most significantly, I believe, the Grand Market. If I could have reached Grand Market on this turn, maybe I could have stayed in the game a bit more than what you will see very soon. But I have to get some more money to buy Grand Market, so I choose a silver here. That probably should have been a quarry. My opponent gets to throw in one of their Grand Markets and has a big turn, picking up a couple Grand Markets plus a scrying pool at this point. So really not looking good for me here, as my opponent now, with the plus buys from the Grand Market and the quarry, can put more things in their deck than the knights can trash. I tried to do what my opponent did to me, which is use the knights to trash their deck. So I pick up some Michael here. The discard attack should hurt as well. And my opponent responds by picking up 4 the knights to my 1. So that is a excellent response. Most excellent response. So I lose the knight split spectacularly here. And it is one-way traffic at this point in the game, because I'm going to be pinned down by my opponent's knights, and with the Grand Markets and the quarries, my opponent will be able to empty the Grand Market pile first and then presumably the estate pile. That's what I would do in his position anyway. On 3, I pick up a Mandarin here because it is the most coin and it won't be trashed. This is my nice compact deck here, but it is doing absolutely nothing, whereas my opponent is having much better turns than I am here, getting to throw in Grand Markets and whatnot. So here my opponent has what, 17 coins and 2 quarries and all the Grand Markets disappear, plus one more scrying pool and a throne room. So next turn is the last turn of the game because all the estates can be bought. What can I do? I just buy an expand to allow my opponent to finish the game here. So that is game 4. I believe actually I underestimated the knights big time and I paid for it. Instead of finishing the game on the estates, my opponent chooses to be a bit more stylish and buy out the chapels. So you get style points there. E. Very nicely done. So thanks for watching and see you in game 5 and 6 hopefully.